Okay, so today we're going to go over adding integers using a number line, and then we'll do it again using tiles. So the very first number is where you want to start. So we're going to start at -3, right? So we're going to start at -3. So if you were starting here at -3 and they want you to move, so we're going to add 5 positives. So it's -3 plus 5 positives. So since we're adding positives, we have to move in the positive direction. So remember, the positives are over here and the negatives are to the left of 0. So we have to move 5 positives in the positive direction. So that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we would end up at +2 after that move. So that's how you use a number line. The number line is not my favorite way to do integers, but that's how you could use it. So number 2, we're going to start at -4. Right, so we're going to start at -4. That's where we're going to start. So we're starting at -4, but this time we're adding a -2. So that means we have to go 2 in the negative direction. So we have to move 2 units in the negative direction. So 1, 2, so that lands on -6. So that would be our answer. So that's how you use a number line. Why don't you pause the video and try the last problems on your own and see how you do. Okay, so how'd you do? So on the next one, we're starting at +6, and we want to move 2 in the positive direction. So we're starting at a +6, and we want to move 2 in the positive direction. So that would be 1, 2, so wouldn't we land at 8? Did you? And obviously 6 plus 2 is like just a regular normal problem, right? The next one, you're starting at +4. So we're starting at +4. And then it says we're going to add, so we're adding 2 in the negative direction. So we have to go 2 in the negative direction. So it'd be 1, 2. So wouldn't we land at 2? And so is that what you're getting? And then number 5, we're starting at +5. So we're starting at +5 this time. And we're adding 5 in the negative direction. So that means we have to go 5 in the negative direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we landed at 0. And that's how you use a number line. Now let's go to adding integers using tiles. So when you add integers using tiles, it's a little bit different. It's a different way of doing it. So in this particular problem, we're going to look at if you have a positive charge with a negative charge. A positive and a negative charge makes a 0 charge. It kind of cancels out the charges. So here we're going to start with 6 negative charges. So we're going to draw 6 negative charges. And then we're adding 2 positive charges. So we're adding 2 positive charges. And then we collect our zeros. So a positive charge with the 0 charge is going to cancel out. And then what are we left with? We're left with 4 negatives. So -4 is our final answer. And that's using tiles. So let's try the next one. So this time we're starting with 7 positives, right? Because this is red. 7 positives plus 3 negatives. That's how you read that. 7 positives plus 3 negatives. So we're starting with 7 positives. And we're adding 3 negatives to the picture, right? So we're adding 3 negatives to the picture, collecting our zeros. A 0 is a positive with a negative, right? So doesn't that leave me 4 positives as my final answer? So normally we don't write the positive sign. We just say 4, and that implies 4 positives. Why don't you stop and try these problems and then come back and play. So let's look at the next one. So we want to start with 3 negatives. So 1, 2, 3. And then we're adding to the picture, right? We're adding to the picture 2 more negatives. So we got 2 more negatives. Now remember, there are no zeros in this picture. So in this picture, there are no zeros, because remember, it takes a positive with a negative to make a 0. So we have no zeros to collect. And what do we see in our picture? I see 5 negatives in my picture, so that's my final answer. Number 4, we are starting with 4 positives in our picture, and they want us to add to our picture 4 negatives to our picture. And then we collect our zeros. A positive with the negative cancels out and makes zeros. So all we have is 0. There isn't anything left over besides the 0, so our answer is 0. In this problem, we're starting with a -1 in our picture, and then we're adding 3 more negatives to the picture. And collect your zeros. There are no zeros in this picture, right? There aren't any zeros to collect in this picture. And so what do we see? I see just 4 negatives. So -4 is my final answer. Again, why don't you try these problems? Why don't you pause and try these problems here and see how you will do, and then come back and play the video. Okay, so did you draw 4 positives? Because we're starting with 4 positives, and then we're adding to the picture 1 negative, and then we're collecting our zeros. And doesn't that leave me 3 positives left over? Right? After a while, you can stop. After a while, you don't even need to draw the pictures, because the pictures will kind of be in your head, right? So in this problem, we're starting with 5 negatives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're adding to our picture another 2 negatives, right? So don't we just have a bunch of negatives, right? There's no zeros in there. We just have a bunch of negatives. So don't we just have 7 negatives? If you have 8 positives and 3 negatives, which one do you have more of? Don't you have more positives than you do negatives? How many more positives do you have than negatives? We have 5 more positives. So let's see how that works. We're starting the picture with 8 positives. Right? So don't we have a bunch of positives? And we're adding to the picture 3 negatives. And isn't this, each of these, a 0? So aren't those all of our zeros? So don't we have more positives left over? Don't we have 5 more positives left over? Okay, so that's adding with integer tiles. I like to use the tiles because once you get the hang of it, you don't even have to draw the pictures. You can just kind of visualize it in your head.